don't want to have coffee with a realtor because it seems like a business meeting. I want to do things that I would do with my friends, my buddies, have lunch, go have a beer, have them over to my house and cook dinner, stuff like that, because the goal is not the business. And maybe that is in the back. The goal is the relationship. And when I first started at Movement, I wanted to do business with every realtor that I possibly could. And then I realized I don't want to do business with every realtor. I want to do business with the realtors that are actually going to care about my business, and I care about their business. And that's what's going to help us grow. If they care about my goals, and I care about their goals.
Welcome to the In the Arena podcast. My name is Jared Miguez, a co-host on this podcast that brings you the inspiring stories of our clients who are leaders and innovators across different industries in Southeast Louisiana. They are visionary entrepreneurs, savvy real estate professionals, media creators, military business owners, and community champions. And we are going to showcase the remarkable achievements and share their personal stories. Tune in for insightful conversations, valuable lessons, and motivational stories that are going to reveal their secrets to success and offer you insights to help you on your own path. Welcome to In the Arena podcast. Super exciting day for me. One of my really, really good friends in the business, Bryan Chamberlain.
Actual friend. Yeah. Got to point that out. Jared doesn't have any actual friends. We'll add Bryan to that list. Can we say that on the pod? Yeah. Are you willing?
I mean,
you don't have to cut it.
I work 24/7, but we do. We usually talk whenever he's having a day or I'm having a day, and we kind of just talk each other off the cliff. So it's been fun over the last 5 years.
Bud.
Yeah, no problem.
I appreciate you doing that for Arena.
Yeah, right.
If you ever didn't answer, which we know happens, you can call me.
Good deal.
I have a couple of people like that, but definitely been a good sounding board for me. And it's been fun because we kind of got into this phase of our business lives about the same time, and have grown a lot since then. So it's good. But instead of you trying to explain your life story, I'm just going to read some things that off the sheet of paper. And I know this is not the stuff that we want to focus on today, because you've got a lot of personal things you're building up about yourself, and it's been good to see that happen over recently. So I'm just going to kind of run through a few things, right? And said, I don't really want to dwell on these things, so I'm going to make sure I don't do that. But you've been in the mortgage industry since you were 19 years old, for 23 years. Right. You've been
Dang, you old.
Originating,
come up on 24.
Managing. You've been purchasing on the back end for businesses. You've been the top 1% of originators in the country, top 30 in Louisiana. You're a branch manager for Movement Mortgage, which is a great company, and which I think really speaks a lot to you. It says, but more importantly, I'm a dad of 3 girls and a husband over the past 10 years, and you and your wife work together. Yep. Which is a really cool thing to see, because that can't be always easy. But like you, my family's a big part of my business too. So I love seeing you be successful with all your kids and your family around, and I try to emulate that a lot with my kids. And if somebody doesn't want to do business with me because my kids are around, then I'm not the right firm for them. So
do we say what we want to say right there on this pod?
Yeah, we want to do business with people that we know, and that we love. Okay. And people that think the same way we do. That's a nice way of saying it, probably.
Oh, no, I was thinking fuck them. That's where I was going.
I like that.
That too.
Yeah.
So over the last 23 years of you being in business, right, you've transitioned a lot from different roles in the industry. And I know you've moved from a couple of different companies, but right now you're working for Movement Mortgage. Right. And I think that company displays a lot of the same values that you have as a person when it comes to personal development, giving back to the community, being a family-oriented type of a person, and treating your clients like they are family, right? So let's kind of start out with Movement Mortgage a little bit and just talk about that, and we can transition into all the really important things we're going to talk about. So tell me about Movement Mortgage and the impact it's had on your business and your life. Yeah,
so to do that, I think I got to back up just a little bit. And so before I came to Movement, and even before I came to Louisiana, I lived in Dallas, Texas. And all I did was manufacture modular home loans. Never worked with realtors. All I did, my job was to go into manufactured home dealerships, build relationships with their finance people, their salespeople, their general managers, and get them to, when a customer walks in to buy that house, put it on that piece of land with these improvements. We do a one-time closed construction to perm loan to get them to the table, and I want them to send those applications to me, kind of like a car dealership where they send it off for financing.
Yeah.
I was a financing guy in the background. I did that for 14 years, basically, from 2001 till I came on board, I guess a little more than in 2016 with Movement. So I was doing that. I had already met Kendall and moved from Dallas to Louisiana because of her.
Good choice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
Shout
And
out.
honestly, this is my favorite place that I've lived out of California. Grew up in California and then Dallas and then here. And I spent a lot of times in both of those other places. This is by far my favorite place to live. And
Louisiana or just the North
Kendall.
Shore?
Oh, I was
Louisiana
going
and the
with
North
Kendall.
Shore.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because of Kindle. But I actually didn't want to do my personal home loan with the company that I worked for, and so I just Googled some loan officers. I ended up getting Hung Lee.
No way.
I swear.
That's awesome.
And so, Hung did my loan, and I had to send him some income documents, and not that I was, making just a ton of money, but I was doing pretty decent as a loan officer doing that. And so he's looking at W-2s and stuff, and he basically tells Patty, "Hey, this guy's doing pretty decent." Patty is, kind of our regional manager, our market leader for Louisiana.
Slash mom.
Yeah, slash my Louisiana mom.
Swim grandma.
Yeah.
That's how I know her.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 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 I forgot about that. But she, so they started calling me and I'm like, look, I've never worked with realtors before. We just had a kid. We're about to have another kid. I mean, it's not the time for me to make a transition, but something kept me in contact with them. And it probably took about 6 months of going back and forth. And then finally just something made me feel like, okay, let's go check this out.
Yeah.
And so I came on board and, immediately, we started gaining some traction. And one of the things that I learned from Patty, probably one of the best things, and Patty is the nicest person in the world. And I tell people this story all the time, but she can also, she will let you know where you stand. She'll get on you if she needs to get on you. And she needed to whenever I first started. You got to think in the manufactured home world, it's just a battle. You're battling underwriting. Everything's a fight with your own company, with, dealerships and having to get those deals closed. Borrowers, those borrowers, they don't have access to as much technology all the time. They're at the library trying to send you this. They don't know what a W-2 is.
Yeah.
Anyways, and so just working through all that, it just seems like your whole life is just frustrating and a mess. And so I came on board with Movement, and immediately I'm in that kind of mindset, where I'm fighting underwriting, I'm fighting this. And Patty finally told me, she's like, look, you're the problem. You need to get out of your own way and let the process work. Mm-hmm. And at first I was so pissed. I was just like, there's no, like, it's not me. It's that. And then I slept on it overnight. And I didn't know Patty real well at the time. I knew her decent from just going to breakfast and having worked here for a little bit. But I went to sleep that night, and I woke up the next morning. I said, you know what? I'm just going to get out of the way and see what happens. And I did that, and all of a sudden my business went through the roof. I learned that people always say, I forget what the saying is, something about honey and
You
catch more
more
flies with
with
honey.
honey.
There you go. That's what it
vinegar.
is.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But it's true. And I actually was talking to another loan officer that doesn't work for Movement the other day, and I was telling him one of the biggest things that I've done is, like, if we're in underwriting and an underwriter makes a mistake on a file, the loan officer's initial reaction is, she made a mistake and it's causing me this, and the realtor's upset and everybody's upset, and they just jump all over that person. The person's allowed to make a mistake. Because I can guarantee you, I can look at that same loan officer and they've made way more mistakes than that underwriter. And most of the time they blame the underwriter when it comes to communicating with the realtor. It's like, well, the underwriter's asking, the underwriter's doing. It's something you didn't do up front or address up front that ended up being an issue later, and you're looking to escape that. And so what I do now is, if I have a battle with an underwriter, we work through it, and then as soon as it's done, I send them a raving fan. Now, a raving fan is something that we do in-house. Obviously, you guys know of the book, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But we do that in-house, where we're able to send through raving fans at movement.com, underwriter, whoever, a raving fan, just let them know they've made us a raving fan. And then they get kind of points and stuff. They can win prizes and stuff like that at corporate.
Cool.
Anyways, and I'll do that, and I'll say, look, we had a tough deal. I want to thank you for helping me work through it. That's the reaction that I get. And I will tell you, I'm assuming this, and I get the feeling that this is true, but they will do anything for me that they can, operations and stuff. And that has helped my business so much in just changing my mindset and my attitude. That whole yelling and fighting the underwriter never does anything good for you.
Yeah. They're the gatekeeper. You got to keep them happy and respect their role,
Yeah.
because they're there to protect the business. If they just let everything roll through there, eventually the movement wouldn't exist, or the company wouldn't exist.
They won't be there because they have a lot on the line also. And one of the things I tell people all the time too is, as a loan officer, you have the ability, and you have to work for it. And somebody that's on a salary, may not have the same mindset. I can make $0 or I can make a lot of money. That underwriter's in the same exact battles that you're in every day, but with multiple loan officers with different personalities and people yell and scream. They get a salary and some bonus.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the income potential that you have, and they're still a human being. Like, you've got to allow them to make some mistakes and work through it with them and not just tear them apart for it. Because imagine yourself, if you were capped at a certain income, would the fight be worth it for you? If you were just constantly just taking it. And so they've got to have, you got to cut them some slack, because 99% of the time they do a fantastic job and they're a human being.
Yeah.
Right. So. I think it's more of like, what's in your control.
Right.
I think there's so many loan officers that don't accept. They have zero control of what the underwriters are going to do. Right? That's by regulation, separate department, separate managers, separate process, separate leaders. So who has extra energy to waste on something that's outside of their control? None of us do. So if you turn and you refocus that energy on something that is, which like you said, 9 times out of 10, it's something they didn't do on the front end. Focus on what you're doing on the front end, and then you can watch it succeed on the back end.
Well, every loan officer has access to the same guidelines and the same income worksheets and all that kind of stuff that an underwriter does. So all you have to do is slow down, pay attention, do the things up front. And that way you don't end up with those issues, other than the occasional mistake, and you may make a mistake, but it's okay. You work through it and get it done. But more times than not, if you're doing your job, you don't have to worry about them doing their job. Everything's going to flow through the pipeline. You can concentrate on bringing new business in the door.
Yep. And I also find that salespeople are emotional. It's just because, like, you are good at working with people because you understand people's emotions, right? So you get excited when they're excited, and you're at the top of the mountain. When you're at the top of the mountain, and man, you are like at the bottom of the ocean, underneath 100%. The sand when you are. And so you're only upset when the client's upset.
Right.
So if you can control setting expectations with the client, oftentimes you're not even going to get to the point that you're frustrated because you're open and honest with them. And that's what I've seen in the industry when I came in that was just very apparent to me, is that there weren't clear expectations being set with any of the clients. So everybody's running around upset if one little thing happens, even if it's a simple fix, just because they're responding to the emotion of the client.
Absolutely. And and the little work that you have to do up front to set the expectation and give them an idea of what that map is going to look like going through the process will save you so much energy on the back end.
So how much time have you taken? I know that we've talked a lot about it over the years, and you've kind of developed your process. What does your process look like when you're working with a client? How do you lay that expectation out in the communication up front?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to say, like exactly how it's laid out, because every client has different, like, as you're going through that process of taking a loan application, you're thinking about all of the different things from your experience in the past that may pop up. We may need this documentation. And one of the more simple things is people get real frustrated with, like, having to document large deposits. You just have that conversation with them up front. Look, if you have any large transfers or anything that's over 0.5% of your income on a conventional loan, or 1% of the loan amount on, I think they may have changed it to 0.5% on FHA actually just recently, of your qualifying income, we're going to have to document where that came from. And so if that means documenting that it came from here, which it came from there, like, you got to get back to the original source, because Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, whatever the agency is that puts the guidelines in place, they require that of us. It's not an underwriter back there deciding what they want to document and what they don't. We've got to do that in order for us to have a sellable, insurable, loan. And so, so just in that initial conversations, I usually have a pretty in-depth conversation with a client, up front. And so in that initial conversation, you're going through the structure. How's your income structured? Are you W-2? Are you self-employed? If you're self-employed, you guys have a corporation? Or you just is everything just on a sole proprietor on your Schedule C? You're going through all that kind of stuff. But as you're going through that and they're answering those questions, you're thinking about all the things that may pop up. One of the biggest things that we get with self-employed folks is, I make $1 million a year. Well, your gross receipts are $1 million a year, but you don't want to pay taxes on that. So your net income is $127,000, and so just those types of questions and just going through that and just setting the expectation, both for the pre-approval process, because if you've got to give them bad news, they're already thinking, well, shit, I just wrote a whole bunch of stuff off. Is that, is it going to work? And, but then also just an expectation of documentation that they're going to have. And the other thing is just breaking down what the process is going to look like, from beginning to end. I went in and I just made a little video that goes through, clips of every stage of the process, something that we can send out to the clients. Also introduces the team, because throughout the process, you're going to have Paige reaching out to stuff or for stuff. And, a lot of times if they don't know who she is, like, who's this Paige person calling? So trying to set the expectation of who's going to be calling when and who takes the process from here to the end and all that kind of stuff, and giving them a good grasp on what to expect just solves a lot of frustration and problems.
That's what I was just doing before you got in here, and I've been trying to be more intentional about how I lay out our team when I'm introducing somebody. Like, if we have, because we try to keep people in a lane, so when we have different types of files come in, there's different support staff from different people. So when I'm connecting them with the team, it's like, you know me, and you think that I'm going to do all your legal work, which is not a good idea, not the truth.
Right.
But I'm going to connect you with the attorney that's going to be handling the matter, the paralegals handle the matter, and then the law firm coordinator that's going to set up the consults and get it all those things. I try to lay that out up front just to make sure that everybody understands who's involved, and that usually helps the communication, because they won't reach out to me every time they need something. They'll go to the people that they need to talk to.
Yeah, they get the best service that way. One of the things that we ran into that became a bit of a problem is we wanted to kind of departmentalize everything to where, Jonathan is working on everything as far as conditions up front, and then he's working on title work orders, he's working on appraisal orders and insurance requests or quotes, and then once it goes into underwriting, Paige is working on this. Sometimes they would get busy, so like, hey, I need some help. Can you call this customer? I still need these things. I haven't sent them in. So Kendall would call, or I would call. And we had a few customers that were like, look, I don't know who, like, I'm getting calls from different people from all this kind of, and so that's one thing that we've done just recently is we're kind of scaling that down and trying to keep everybody in their lane so that whenever we set that expectation of, initially I'm going to gather all this stuff from you. Kendall's going to help me with that. Then Paige is going to take us to the end, but I'm always here 7 days a week, nights, doesn't matter. You can call me if you have questions, anything that has to do with, you being upset about something, pricing, closing costs, closing dates, anything like that. That all comes to me. Like, I don't want anybody having the burden of having to have a conversation about pricing. As far as like Paige, and it's not in her wheelhouse. So I want to have all those conversations to set those expectations when those contracts come in and we're locking and stuff. So just trying to give them a good idea of who handles what, but not making it so like too confusing for them. For sure. And I think there's a balance there, because you have to have certain people doing certain things so that you could be efficient and everybody does their thing really well, so things flow through the process. But at the same time, too many hands in the cookie jar can sometimes confuse them, and we forget a lot of the times they're not in the middle of mortgage transactions every day like we are. And so that's something that I've been working on.
So let's transition. So I know that you're in a big self-development stage of your life right now, and I think this is a good way to transition. If anybody's been following you on social media lately, you've been trying and doing a great job of putting positive things out into the world. And you made the comment to me recently that just by doing that, you've seen a lot of benefit from that,
right?
Whether it's karma, or you're getting blessings of God, whatever you want to say, whatever is coming back to you, it's coming back.
Right.
So how have you shifted your mindset lately, and what are you doing to help do that?
Yeah. So I think I'll tell you what I've kind of gone through over the last year, and I'm going to be just open and honest about what I've gone through. I went from being on the top of the world, closing a ton of loans, and not, a lot of people are like, it was a refi market, and we did like 20-something% refis, but it was a big purchase market, for us also whenever rates were low. And so we did a lot of business in that time frame. And then probably August of last year, things started to slow down. And I got into a mindset that initially was like, okay, it's slowing down, it's rates, it's insurance, it's going to slow down a little bit and we're going to be fine. And then that turned into damn rates and this damn insurance, and that turned into, to the point where I wasn't even doing the things that I need to do to be out in front of agents and stuff like that. And I watched my business just crumble as far as volume goes, because I wasn't doing any of the things, and I was feeling sorry for myself and really that's just truly what it was. I got myself into just a negative mindset that I hadn't been in a long time. And I can't remember, a time whenever I'd been that way. And it was kind of scary. And I just sat there stuck in that mindset. And probably, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago or so is how long that lasted. And I just decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to do 75 hard, which is where where the confidence to change other things started, is going into 75 hard. And yes, it changes your body, makes you feel healthier and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, for me, it's not even about that. It's about the fact that I'm doing it.
Doing hard things.
Doing hard things.
Proving to yourself,
Exactly.
I can still
That
do hard things.
Yes, and I can have the discipline. And that's what I lost, was the discipline, or even the will, or the want to do the things, like almost like I'd given up a little bit.
Yeah.
And anyways, and so it started with 75 hard, and that's a pretty intense.
What was your version of it? Because I know you were, some people would kind of change their version of 75 hard, but like you read the Bible?
I read that. Yeah. So just the program itself is essentially 2 workouts a day for 45 minutes. One of them has to be outside, whether it's raining, snowing, lightning, it doesn't matter. It's got to be outside. You have to read 10 pages of a non-fictional book. In my mind, the Bible is a non-fictional book. Somebody may disagree out there.
Yeah.
But that's for them. Drink a gallon of water a day. Follow a diet, no cheat meals, and no alcohol. So today's day 57. And so there's a little app where you can keep track of all of those things. I've lost 33 pounds.
You got 33 now?
Yeah, in 57 days. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so as I started doing that, I started
This
feeling.
is the kid-friendly zone, so don't take your shirt off. But
Yeah. You'll see. Yeah.
Jared will get too excited.
I've been doing some before and after pictures on Facebook, and I catch so much crap for it. Like I went to soccer practice the other day, and one of the other soccer dads was like, "Oh, he's got his shirt on." I was like, "I know what I am, and I know what that." Like I just can't help myself. But going through that program, I started reading the Bible. Every day. I said I'm going to read the Bible from the beginning, to the end. And I've never done that before. I grew up in a very, very religious house, but I always ran from it. Mm-hmm. So in the back of my head, there's a lot of foundation there, and a lot of regret or remorse, because I know I don't do the things that I'm supposed to do, just on a personal level, as far as that goes. And so I started reading the Bible, and I'll tell you, you go through Genesis, and it's not to get too deep into it, but Genesis is like, okay, these stories I know, and and then you get into some like Leviticus, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can they explain how the Ark of the Covenant is going to be built in any more detail?
Yeah,
It's like pages and pages. Like, I don't know if I can get through this, but you push through it, and then all of a sudden they build the Ark, and then they're going to tell you how they built it according to all the things that, and all of that is another 15 pages. So I couldn't wait to get out of Leviticus, but then you kind of run through some stuff that. I don't know. It's just there's a lot of things that don't line up with the way things are today, in the Old Testament and stuff like that, and I get that. But it just looking at the commitment, and also one of the biggest things I took out of that too is my whole life, as far as like God goes, and I've always ran away. Things got bad, came back a little bit because I was like, oh shit, I don't know what else to do here. So come back, and then things get good, and then you run away. If you look at the Old Testament, like Israel, that's all they did.
Over and over again.
Over and over and over again. There's a lot of parallels there, and so.
Well, and it's similar to like the idea of just meditation practice in general. Mm-hmm. It's the point of, I think the point of it, and the realization is that being a human being, you're going to fall back and come back. Yep. And I think that part of just understanding the Bible is understanding that it's okay to do that as long as you come back. Yeah. You keep coming back, and you're aware, and then more frequently do you realize that you've started turning away before you decide to come back.
Yeah, your sway becomes this and to this.
Yeah, exactly.
And then this, so it's a lot. Yeah. No, that's so just, for me, to get back to your question, I just want to kind of tell you like what I'm doing and how it started. I gained some confidence in, okay, I can be disciplined, because I felt like I couldn't be. Like I would get disciplined, get these good ideas, I'd start something, I wouldn't finish it, all that kind of stuff. And now I'm finishing this thing. I'm determined to finish this thing. And I've stuck with it. Okay, now where else can I apply that in my life? And I coach right now with a guy named Kevin O'Loughlin, who is he's one of the top producers at Movement up in Pittsburgh. In our call, this is what started the self-awareness thing. That and the book that I'm reading, I'll tell you here in just seconds. It's my favorite. I don't read a lot, but I love this book. But Kevin basically said, okay, well, without self-awareness, you have no gauge of where you are. Like without being honest with yourself and having self-awareness, to the point where I have to go through, and I've got to start this. I've got to do this. But he wants us to basically go through and keep track of our entire day from the time we wake up till we go to sleep by the minute.
On the minute?
By the minute. So like he's got a little form. It's like every 15 minutes you put right now what you did. anyways, for an entire 2 days actually. And so, so doing that and then going back and looking at it and evaluating, okay, what do I do with my time, you know, and then saying, okay, could I cut something out of here? Could I cut something out of there? Could I have spent more time with my family because I needed to work, I said.
Always.
But I did something outside of work or the family where I could have replaced that with work in order to spend more time, whatever it may be, to get through your day. But he said, before you know what you're doing, because you don't sit and think about it, if you don't break that down, that's basically the start is just self-awareness of what you're doing. So I decided I was going to be honest with myself, because a lot of times I haven't been, and so I just decided I'm going to break all this down. And I don't want to face it because it doesn't feel good that I've been doing a certain thing. I'm just going to face it anyway and figure it out. And look, I haven't changed everything in my life to where I'm perfect, but I can guarantee you this, I'm working towards it and I'm making changes, and my mind, everything just feels so much better right now. My business is absolutely picked up. 4 or 5-fold. Since this is all started. And so, and I think that will, this is the first time in my life where I can actually look and say, okay, next year I want to do 75 million. I'll say it because I'm confident. I'm going to do $75 million in loans next year. And I'm going to do $75 million. I've already gone through and I've broken down what it would take. How many one-on-ones with agents, how many events, all that kind of stuff. And some of that's going to shift because there's not like a perfect formula for it.
Yeah.
But what I think it will take consistently to get to a certain point by the end of the year, and then by next year, work into that process where I've got to do 300 loans the next year. The most I've done is 188 loans. So it's way outside of what I've done before, but I got a different mindset on things. And I feel like I'm excited about it. So.
I think
Heard it here first.
Yeah, you heard it up. Seriously. But I think one of there's 2 things. But the first thing is that even through all of the things that have happened in the market over the last couple of years, that there are people who maintained a certain level of consistency. It's because they didn't stop doing the things that they knew they needed to do. And they've always done to grow their business. And I think that just being honest with you, like you could have. Knowing you and knowing how hard and knowing how good the job you do and the relationships that you built, you could have maintained that. I think, but I think that you like you said, you had to go through that period of time to realize that I can get back there, and get out of your own head to say I can go do it. Because if you can consistently do the things you need to be doing, if you look over year, you're going to have a relatively consistent output.
There's no doubt in my mind if I would have kept a good mindset or had a good foundation on my mindset, this wouldn't impacted me at all. Everything was because of me and how I reacted to what was happening in the market. And that's part of the reason whenever I made that change, I started looking around and saying, wait a second, I'm blaming rates. I'm blaming this. I'm looking for a reason and not looking in the mirror, but I'm also looking at other people that didn't slow down. Why don't the rates affect them? Why doesn't the insurance affect them?
Pivot.
It's you. It's 100%. If you're struggling right now, you got to figure yourself out, and that's where I'm at right now.
So my phrase is always a challenge to individuals and to businesses. You must see yourself clearly. If you're not willing to confront the reality of what you're doing and what your business is doing, then you're not fixing the right things. Everybody can wake up every day or go to bed at night in their frustrations and have an idea of something that's wrong. But that doesn't mean they're seeing their actions clearly, their business clearly. And that's what you did. Like, I love that exercise of every 15 minutes of your day. That'll sting 99.9% of people.
And
it needs to.
I'm not looking forward to it. I'll put it but I'm going to do it.
I can't wait for you to do it. Honestly, because every time you do something like that, time blocking is the much generalized way of doing that. You wind up realizing how much time you actually do have. Right? You let the things that are consuming you consume you rather than the things that you want to consume your time.
I agree with that 100%.
So you wrote on here that if you're honest with yourself, then you'll be able to start moving forward, and focusing on the plan and being committed to that plan is what's going to actually help you become successful. And so, like, what does your plan look like from just, I know you're doing 75 hard, but I think that's just from a personal standpoint, but what are you doing on a daily basis to help your business grow?
So right now, the main thing for a loan officer, and this isn't something that I made up or came up with, this is pretty, it just comes down to, do you do it or you don't do it?
Yeah.
Obviously, the bulk of, in my business, the bulk of my business comes from realtor referrals.
Mm-hmm.
So, being in front of realtors is you've got to have, and for us, I'm trying to give away secrets here. No, but for us, or for me in particular, like, don't want to have coffee with a realtor because it seems like a business meeting. Mm-hmm. I want to do things that I would do with my friends, my buddies, have lunch, go have a beer, have them over to my house and cook dinner, stuff like that, because the goal is not the business. And maybe that is in the back. The goal is the relationship. And when I first started at Movement, I wanted to do business with every realtor that I possibly could. And then I realized I don't want to do business with every realtor. I want to do business with the realtors that are actually going to care about my business and I care about their business. And that's what's going to help us grow. If they care about my goals and I care about their goals, that's what's going to. So that's kind of the process of going through and having these, one-on-ones with realtors, sitting down with them and really, getting to know them, not talking about business. I don't want to show up and talk about rates and mortgages and the programs I have and all that kind of stuff. That all will come. I want to know about your kids. I want to know about your family. I want to know about what you like, what you dislike, all that kind of stuff. And there's going to be some of those meetings where they say, what, Bryan's a nice guy, but he's not really somebody that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. Yeah. But through that process, you start to meet people that you really click with. And there's so many realtors right now that I do business with that have become close friends of mine. And that's the goal. Because I'll say this, and I don't know if you'll want to cut it out or not, but it sounds bad, but it's just a natural, I guess, it's just something that naturally happens through having a good relationship with somebody. Guilt is the biggest driver. Like, I basically want to have a good enough relationship with somebody that they want me to have that deal and they feel guilty if I don't have it.
Yeah.
And you can't have that without deepening a relationship with a realtor.
And I've always said this: if I was going to go and if I couldn't do what I do now, I would want to go be a loan officer, because I think that the benefit of having to be able to target agents and do business with agents intentionally, and also anybody in the general public being an opportunity for a client is something that agents don't get, because they are just focused on the general public, right? Generally speaking. But what I think, and also what you find too, I bet, is that if you do business with a bunch of agents that you can relate to, they're probably going to be friends with other people that you can relate to. And then when they refer those people over to you, you're probably going to have a common bond with that person too. And so the foundation of the shared experience that you've connected with these agents is going to pour over, because people generally spend time with people that they know, like, and trust, that they agree with, they've shared experiences with. And so I know now, just by doing business with you over the last 6-7 years, that you also have repeat clients from those past clients, because you've built the same relationship with them, knowing that you can relate to them based on the experiences you have with the agents that refer them to you.
I'm going elk hunting with 3 of my clients in September. Yeah. So 100%.
Yeah. So it's like, I agree with you that when people we'll have a business consulting meeting with somebody and they'll be like, oh, I just want to do business with everybody. I'm not going to be intentional about who I want to reach out to. And everybody is a potential client of ours. And if you live your life that way, you're going to be exhausted and you're going to be generally unhappy, because you're just going to be trying to spend time with people that you don't relate with. Yeah. And the world is set up in a way that they're just naturally not going to relate to everybody. Right. You've got to be able to be intentional about it and be self-aware enough to know who you are, what your gifts are, and who you're going to work the best with. And the term that I always use is you just want to do business with people that you love. And if you do business with people that you love, you're going to grow. Oh, yeah. Just because they're going to connect you, and you're going to be more. It's going to be more enjoyable, a more pleasant experience for everybody. Yep. So I think that when you start focusing on that and you're intentional about it, and you actually think about who is my ideal client, who do I want to spend time with, then your business is just going to grow naturally. And then, like you said, follow the plan. Just do the basic things you got to do every day to get there.
Yeah, you still have to support them, even though you have a relationship. Yes, you've got to have the process in place. You got to have the plan and to grow. But one of the things also that, like having a preconception or an idea of what you think a realtor, because there's a certain type of realtor that maybe I know I'm not going to click with. Look, if they send me, I'm going to work my ass off no matter what for anybody. But I know that it's probably, I'm a jeans and t-shirt type of guy, and some realtors want a suit and tie type of guy, and that's never going to be me. But sometimes you assume that, and then you go to lunch with them, and it's a whole different person than what you thought they were, and that's happened to me before too. So I would say that as you're looking to figure out who you want to do business with, don't just overlook somebody because of what you think about them. Like go to lunch and go figure it out. And the other thing is if you don't click, it doesn't mean that you dislike the person or anything like that. It's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
Like they have to make sure that they're having the same relationships. And if you guys are in different spaces or whatever, and you can't build that relationship, they need to have that relationship with another loan officer that they can. And that's perfectly fine. Like, you wish them the best luck, support them any way you can.
Yeah.
So
tell me what the mindset is around the daily affirmations and posts that you're doing every morning. I mean,
I've enjoyed them.
Yeah, I've enjoyed them, and I was completely honest with you the other night. Just you getting back in shape, and me respecting the things you do with you and your family. I mean, it makes me feel and hold myself accountable to going out and doing it as well. Like Jason, Lauren's husband, has a similar impact on me, and my business coach Dom does too. And so, is that part of the intention, or what's the intention? Is that hold you accountable?
I like as I start to the self-awareness piece, you start to look at yourself, and a lot of times people think that the self-awareness piece is just so you can figure out all the negatives, but you also start looking at all the positives. And I'm grateful, man. I'm truly, it's not an affirmation trying to convince myself that things are good and things are positive. I'm realizing all of the good things and the positive things, and I'm like, dude, this really is going to be a good day.
Yeah.
Like, even if one of the things that Kevin O'Loughlin told us on our call the other day that was cool, he's like, you got to wake up every morning just expecting to take a haymaker to the face at least 5 times. And if you're expecting that and you're prepared for it, and only one of them comes or 2 of them comes,
Right.
It's a good day. Life is good. And even if it's 5, and if you get to 6 or 7, not so good of a day. But anyways, and so it's like the reason that I'm putting that out there is because I'm reminding myself of the fact that life is good, and I've been blessed with a ton of stuff that a lot of times whenever I've been down and stuff like that, I've let that stuff take over my mindset to the point where I'm neglecting the fact that my wife, my kids, my people I work with, you guys, not just people at Movement, but like there's so much to be thankful for, and so much that I've been blessed with that other people haven't been blessed with, and like I'm truly am grateful, and I'm just putting that out there in the world.
And I think that if you may not even realize it, but I know that there are other people who are not in that same headspace that are plugging into that and seeing that, and they're appreciating the fact that you're putting it out there. I've just by following it, I know that people are appreciating that. So you keep that up, because I think you're making an impact on people for sure. But I want to talk about your family a little bit, and like. One of the I told you,
Dad.
Yeah. I grew up with 4 boys, so like all these girls are different for me, but like I think you're killing it as a dad. So like, how do you relate to your kids, and what do they mean to you?
I grew up with 7 boys, so
you get it too.
We had 7 boys and 1 girl in my family growing up, so it's a little bit different.
Poor
for me.
sister.
I know, she was
I'd
the
heard 'em
second
after
of the
your
youngest. Yeah.
Lord.
Yep. So look, my kids have always been and always will be like
You're good.
I'll cut that out.
I was about to say, mine are a pain in the ass too.
Yeah. They're so hard, they make me cry. No, but literally. I was in a place before we got pregnant with Dempsey, a very like just selfish like party, dude, like just so many things that in my life were just spiraling out of control. And I feel like my whole life has been like a big stepping stone to the next step of getting a little bit better, because I think, I started off, through the end of high school and the first couple of years outside of high school, having a huge, issue with drugs and stuff like that. And I left that to go to Dallas, and then it became partying and drinking and blowing my money, and I was making decent money, and I had so many friends because all I did is go out 4 nights a week and buy them all drinks, and then I was broke and all that kind of stuff. And I just went through this pattern of kind of always getting a little bit more ahead, but then falling back behind. I mean, I had a car repossessed. I got kicked out of my apartment, and living on my friend's sister's couch out of trash bags, washing my clothes in her, and driving. I didn't have a car, so I drove this little Honda CBR 600 around with a tie on in 100-degree Texas freaking weather to appointments. And so I could imagine the people whenever I rolled up there just full of sweat, taking my helmet off.
You sweat a lot too.
I do, and I'm sweating right now. The taking my helmet off, my hair all messed up, and all this kind of stuff. And so, I'm really grateful for them.
Yeah,
like I feel like they saved me.
You've done a good job. It's been fun watching watching Dempsey play soccer, and I mean it's inspiring because I've always said like having a daughter and coming from a bunch of boys, like the two things that are important to me is that they're smart and that they're confident. Right. Because at the end of the day, if they're smart and they have the self-confidence to go into a room, like they're unstoppable, and they're not going to let the world get to them like the other people have. And I think that you're doing a great job of instilling that in your daughters. I know that your kids are always happy, which is another good sign that they're in a good headspace.
But I'll also beat their ass.
Same.
Yeah. No, I do. I try to make it a point, to talk to them like a normal person, not talk to them like they're a little kid. Mm-hmm. Let them see and be involved. I have conversations with them like when we're stressed out. I'm like, look, your mom is having to tell you to do this and this and this over and over again, and she's getting frustrated. Yeah, she's yelling. I mean, because I hope the perception isn't that every day is perfect and all that kind of stuff with kids. I mean, we go through our frustration. There's yelling in our house. Get your damn, you're supposed to. Did you do your home? That all happens in our house. But I always sit and I explain to them, like, look, we get up in the morning, we're going to work so that we can provide these things for you. And you got to realize the stress and everything else that we go through throughout the day. All we need you to do is this thing. And I know you're a kid, and I've been there before. My mom yelled at me. But like, you got to get that done, because all it does is add stuff on top of it. You got to realize that, you have a job to do and you're part of this equation. So I'll have conversations with a 5-year-old, with an 8-year-old, and with a 10-year-old that are exactly like that. I also push them. I don't just push them, but I also push them and then let them know, when they're doing a good job, whether it be soccer or whether it be school or whatever it is. I'm not afraid to talk to them like I talk to you or talk to anybody else. And I think that has helped, a lot with just kind of their maturity and their thought process and stuff like that. Like I'll have them say things to me. I'm trying to think of an example, but I know that it happens all the time where, they'll say something to me and I'm like, you're like 27, and so it's just, they're good girls. They really are. The things that, that we get on them for, the things as far as just, keeping their rooms clean and all that kind of stuff.
Normal kid stuff.
Yeah. And I know that, people always tell me that once they get into their teens, I'm screwed, and right
I don't know,
now,
man. Dempsey's, I feel like Dempsey's going to keep you.
Yeah, but
cool.
I still have Palmer and
Well, yeah, I was going to say Dempsey.
yeah, you said Dempsey.
It's that second one.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Well, I don't know. It might be the third one for me. Scout is.
Third, so.
Yeah, Scout is.
I've seen her fall off of a chair, bounce off the floor, and just get up and keep running. Dude,
she's so smart, but she's so hard headed. Like she just. Like if she wants something, which is awesome, and I'm aware that that's going to be an awesome thing later in life, right. But I'm also aware that it's going to be an absolute ass whipping, whenever they're in their teens. And now they're starting to argue a little bit, and I'm like, oh my God.
We're in the middle of that right now.
Are you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, they're at each other all the time.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's funny because like you get that first one and you spend so much time with them and you're like, how can I love anything as much as I love this? And then the second one comes, you're like, okay, my heart grew.
Right.
And now I'm obsessed, with this new human too. And then you watch their differences and you watch them grow together and it's like you're grateful, but they're giving you back.
Right.
And man, I don't like to see myself sometimes, like especially with Jocelyn, because like Dylan, I can be like, I'm disappointed in you, and she's like, I'm sorry. That's what'll get her. I could yell all day, but like they're tough like I am, and like Jason is, like they'll stand up to anything. But you could say you're disappointed. Jocelyn, we're disappointed, and she's like, I'm sorry for you.
Yeah,
you're gonna need to figure that out.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna be over here doing what I'm doing, and it's just like, man, that's gonna serve her so well.
Oh, it will.
But,
yeah,
like,
but
we'll
you're gonna go through some bumps. Yeah, in the meantime.
For now.
Yeah.
Yep. So
it's wild.
But I'm looking forward to it. Look, I think life gets like, yeah, I've done a lot of thinking as far as like the meaning of life and why are we even here, all that kind of stuff throughout the years. And I've never come to a conclusion of any of it, but I'll tell you that I feel like life is, I don't know. It's just almost like just trying not to be bored, like, and all those challenges and all that kind of stuff. And whether it's business and all that kind of stuff, like really, like at the end of the day, it's like you need some kind of a challenge in your life to make it feel like there's, that you're working towards something or there's something being accomplished. And whether that's raising kids or a business or, something, for your health or whatever it is, I feel like you take all that away and there's just nothing, there's nothing there. And
yeah.
So,
It's like, the perspective of when you, it usually happens, and it's probably God's way of waking me up to it, but like I'll be having a rough week and then my kids will show up at work and it's just like, what's the point? There is a point, but it's just the kids put it in perspective for sure. Yep. And it's, it's like there's no matter what's going on in your life, they tend to make you feel better 100% of the time. Oh, yeah. Yep. So, but anyway, well, dude, it was great having you on today.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
You guys too.
Keep up with the.
Sorry for crying.
No, you're good.
I didn't cry fully though. I just teared up and stuff.
We didn't have to get tissues. So it didn't count.
It didn't count.
Yeah.
And again, it's just because they're so bad.
Right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
No, but no, you're great. You're a great guy, and I really am thankful that you're a friend. And you may not be doing this as long as I am because you're a little bit older than me, but I look forward to doing.
Oh, he does that to you too.
As long as I can.
Oh,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because you're so old, you'll be done quicker. But I'm young. And
We're not that far apart. The gray hair is because of you.
Right.
Anyway, I appreciate you, bro. Thanks for coming on,
we
man.
appreciate you both too. Seriously, you guys are awesome.
Thanks, man.
All right.